The dragon everyone hated. Star Shelter was the largest space station in the outer systems. It was bright, busy, and loud. Ships came and went every minute. Traders shouted prices. Guards watched every corner. Life moved fast in Star Shelter. But there was one place where life felt frozen. Deep below the station, far from the markets and lights, there was a holding level that most people avoided. The lights, they were always dim. The air was cold. Even the guards spoke in whispers. At the end of a long metal hallway stood a reinforced cell. Inside that cell lived the most hated dragon in the galaxy. People called it many names. Cursed Dragon, Star Eater, the Bringer of Ruin. Stories about the dragon spread across systems for years. Some said entire fleets were destroyed because of it. Others claimed planets burned when it was young. No one knew what was true anymore, but everyone agreed on one thing. The dragon was dangerous. Because of that, no one came close. The dragon was smaller than most people expected. It was not a giant beast filling the cell. Its wings were folded tight against its body, torn and scarred. Heavy energy chains wrapped around its legs and neck. Old wounds crossed its dark scales, some never healed properly. Its eyes were the worst part. They were not full of rage. They were empty. The dragon lay still, barely moving. It did not roar. It did not breathe fire. It only watched the door, day after day, waiting for something it did not understand. Once long ago, the dragon had fought back. It had screamed. It had burnt. That only brought more pain. So it learned to stay quiet. Guards passed by the cell often, but they never stopped. Some made the sign of protection. Others spat on the floor. A few looked afraid, even through their armor. Why keep it alive? One guard whispered once. Orders, another replied. High command says it's too valuable to kill. Valuable, but hated. Above the holding level, life went on. Children laughed in the food sector. Music played near the docking bays. No one talked about the dragon unless they had to. And in one cycle, something changed. A human maintenance worker was assigned to repair a power line near the holding level. His name was Elias Ward. He was average in every way, average height, average build, plain clothes. No medals, no weapons, just a toolkit and a tired look. He had worked on Star Shelter for years. No one special. As Elias walked down the lower corridor, he felt something strange. The hallway felt heavier, quieter. His steps echoed too loudly. He checked his station map and frowned. This area again, he muttered. He knew the stories. Everyone did. Still, the power line was failing, and someone had to fix it. As he worked, a soft sound reached his ears. Not a roar, not a growl. It was a low, broken breath. Elias paused. He turned his head slowly toward the reinforced door at the end of the hall. Warning lights glowed red around it. Symbols of danger were painted across the metal. He should have left. Instead, he walked closer. Each step felt wrong, like the station itself wanted him to turn back. When he reached the observation window, he looked inside and froze. The dragon lifted its head slightly. Chains rattled softly. One eye opened, dull and tired. For a moment, they stared at each other. The dragon expected pain. It always did. Guards, weapons, shouting, those came next. But none of that happened. The human did not raise a weapon. He did not shout. He simply stood there, silent. Elias felt his chest tighten. This was not the monster from the stories. This was a living creature that looked broken. He said quietly. You're real. The dragon did not move. Elias noticed the scars, the burns, the way one wing bent at a wrong angle. He noticed how thin the dragon looked, how careful it was not to pull against the chains. Something uncomfortable formed at his chest. How long have you been down here? He asked, knowing there would be no answer. Still, he stayed. Minutes passed. Then, without thinking, Elias sat down on the floor outside the cell. He leaned against the wall and let out a slow breath. I don't know what you did, he said, but this place, it's not living. It's just waiting to die. The dragon blinked. That was new. No one had ever talked like that before. Footsteps echoed from the far end of the hall. Elias stood up quickly, heart racing. Guards appeared, tense and alert. Step away from his cell, one shouted. Elias raised his hands. I was just fixing the power line. The guards watched him closely, then looked at the dragon. The dragon had not moved, but its eye followed the human as he was escorted away. For the first time in a very long time, the dragon felt something unfamiliar. Not fear, not anger, curiosity. And far above, in a station that believed it knew everything about monsters and heroes, a small moment had begun. A moment that would shock the galaxy. The human who did not turn away. Star Shelter did not sleep. It only pretended to. Even when the lights dimmed and traffic slowed, the station listened. Walls hummed. Cameras watched. Whispers traveled faster than ships. And that night, the whispers had one name. The dragon. Elias Ward lay awake in his small crew cabin, staring at the ceiling. The image would not leave his mind. Not the chains. Not the cell. The eyes. They were not wild. They were not cruel. They were tired. He rolled onto his side and laughed softly at himself. Get a grip, he whispered. It's a dragon. But his chest still felt tight. The next day, Elias tried to work like normal. He checked power notes. He repaired vents. He nodded at co-workers. But his thoughts kept drifting back to the lower levels. By the third hour, he realized something else. The dragon had followed him. Not physically, in his mind. During his break, Elias sat alone in the food sector. Screens played news updates above him. One headline flashed bright red. Most dangerous dragon secured. Galactic safety confirmed. Elias stared at it. Liar, he muttered. Across the station, deep below, the dragon lay still in its cell. It had not slept. It replayed the moment again and again. The human standing there, unarmed, unafraid. No shouting, no pain, just a voice, just words. That had never happened before. The dragon did not understand humans. It only knew that humans were small and loud and cruel like the rest. Still, this one had stayed. That confused it. Confusion was dangerous. Late in the cycle, alarms sounded on the lower levels. A minor power failure. Nothing serious. Except Elias was the closest technician. When the assignment came through his wrist unit, he froze. Location, holding level 7. He swallowed. You've got to be kidding me. Protocol said he should request backup. Protocol also said the dragon was secure. Elias followed protocol. He went alone. The hallway felt colder this time. Darker. The lights flickered like they were unsure of themselves. Elias walked slower, each step louder than the last. As he reached the end of the hall, the reinforced door came into view. And so did the dragon. It was awake. Its head lifted slightly when it sensed movement. Chains shifted. Muscles tensed. Instinct screamed danger. The dragon remembered pain. It expected pain. Elias stopped several meters away. His heart pounded so hard he thought the dragon might hear it. He forced his hands to stay visible. It's just me, he said softly. The dragon did not understand the words, but it understood the tone. Slowly, Elias moved to the power panel beside the cell. Sparks flew as he opened it. The station groaned around them. You're probably wondering why I'm back, he said, talking more to calm himself than anything else. Truth is, I don't know. The dragon watched. Every movement, every breath. If this human reached for a weapon, the dragon would fight, even chained. Minutes passed. Nothing bad happened. Elias finished the repair and closed the panel. He hesitated. Then he did something very stupid. He stepped closer to the observation window. I keep hearing how you're the worst thing in the galaxy, he said. Funny thing is, the worst things usually don't look this tired. The dragons I focused on him. Not with anger. With attention. Elias reached into his pocket. He pulled out a small ration bar, still sealed. Regulations screamed in his head. Do not feed the prisoner. Do not interact. Do not bond. He ignored them all. He slid the ration through the small intake slot used for automated feeding. The dragon did not move. It stared at the bar like it was a trap. Elias stepped back. It's food. No tricks. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the dragon reached forward. Its claws shook as it picked up the ration. It sniffed it carefully. Then it ate. The station cameras recorded everything. Above, security alerts began to flash. Unscheduled interaction detected. Commanders watched in disbelief as the most hated dragon in Star Shelter accepted food from a human. Not forcefully. Not violently. Willingly. Elias did not smile. He did not celebrate. He just watched, breath held as the dragon finished eating and curled back into itself. "See you around," he whispered. As he turned to leave, a low sound followed him. Not a roar, not a threat, a quiet sound, almost a question. Elias froze. He looked back. The dragon was watching him go, and for the first time since it had been locked away, it did not feel alone. Somewhere in the station, alarms grew louder, because someone had just crossed a line that could not be uncrossed, and the galaxy was about to notice the choice that should never exist. Star Shelter went into lockdown at exactly 3:17 station time. No explosions, no attacks, just one silent command sent across every system. Security priority, absolute. Doors sealed. Lift stopped. Armed units flooded the lower levels. All because of one human. Elias Ward stood in the middle of the holding corridor, surrounded by red warning lights. His wrist unit vibrated nonstop, flashing alerts he did not want to read. Behind the reinforced wall, the dragon felt the change immediately. The station's hum shifted. The air grew tense. Pain always came after this. The dragon pulled back into itself, wings tight, breath shallow. Chains tightened automatically, responding to the rising threat level. It closed its eye. It waited. Footsteps thundered down the hall. Security Commander Vrax emerged first, tall and sharp, his armored claws clicking against the floor. Armed guards followed, weapons already aimed. "Human," Vrax said coldly, "step away from the cell." Elias raised his hands slowly. His heart hammered, but his voice stayed calm. "I fixed the power line," he said. "That's all." Vrax's eyes narrowed. "You fed it." The word had echoed like a curse. Elias swallowed. "Yes." Weapons charged with a sharp whine. "You violated containment law," Vrax continued. "You interacted with a Class Omega threat." Elias looked at the cell, at the shadow curled inside. "It didn't attack," he said. "It didn't even try." "That is irrelevant," Vrax snapped. "Dragons deceive. That one destroyed 3 fleets." "Did it?" Elias asked quietly. The corridor went silent. No one expected that question. Vrax stepped closer, towering over him. "This creature is the most hated dragon in recorded space. Entire systems demanded its death. And yet you kept it alive," Elias replied. "Why?" No answer came. "Because the truth was dangerous." The dragon opened its eye. Through the thick window, it watched the humans stand alone against armed guards. Every instinct screamed that this was foolish. No one stood up for it before. Ever. "Remove the human," Vrax ordered. 2 guards grabbed Elias by the arms. His tools fell to the floor with a loud clang. Something inside the dragon snapped. Not rage. Fear. A low vibration rolled through the cell. The air grew warm. Energy readings spiked. "Containment surge," a guard shouted. Chains glowed brighter as they tightened painfully. The dragon cried out, not in anger, but in panic. "Stop," Elias shouted. "You're hurting it." Vrax turned sharply. "You care about its pain?" Elias struggled against the guards. "It's scared." The word hit harder than any weapon. Scared. Not evil. Not violent. Scared. The dragon's cry echoed through the corridor, shaking metal and bone. Lights flickered. Alarms screamed. If the chains failed, Star Shelter would burn. "Sedate it," Vrax ordered. "No," Elias yelled. "Please don't." Then he did something that no protocol, no law, no species had ever prepared for. He shouted one word. "Wait." The guards froze, stunned by the raw force in his voice. Elias tore free and stepped forward directly in front of the observation window. "I'm here," he said, loud and clear. "I'm not leaving." The dragon saw him, really saw him, still standing, still unarmed, still choosing to stay. The energy readings dropped. Slowly, carefully, the dragon's breathing calmed. The chains dimmed. The cell grew quiet. No one spoke. Vrax stared at the monitors in disbelief. "That should not be possible," he whispered. Elias rested his hand against the glass. "It trusts me," he said. "That thing does not trust," Vrax snapped. "It only waits to destroy." Elias turned to face him. "Then why is it listening to me?" Silence. That question reached far beyond the corridor. Later that cycle, Elias stood alone in a sterile office, facing a glowing terminal. Legal documents floated in the air. Containment transfer. Custodial responsibility. Full liability. At the top of the form was a line no one had used in centuries. Adoption request. Sentient non-human. Elias's hand shook. Signing meant losing his job, his safety, possibly his life. The galaxy would call him insane. He thought of the dragon's eye, the fear, the quiet sound it made when he turned away. He pressed his thumb to the screen. Confirmed. Deep below, the dragon felt something change. Not in the chains, not in the cell, but in the universe itself. For the first time since it was hunted, blamed, and broken, someone had chosen it. And that choice was about to shake the galaxy to its core. When the dragon took its first step, no one slept on Star Shelter after the adoption order went through. Not the commanders, not the guards, and certainly not the dragon. The station's central network exploded with alerts, warnings, and emergency meetings. Screens across command decks flashed the same message again and again. Custodial transfer approved. Subject, Class Omega Dragon. Approved. The word alone caused panic. In the deepest level of the station, the dragon felt the change before anyone came for it. The chains loosened just a little. The pain it had lived with for years eased enough to notice. That had never happened before. It lifted its head slowly, unsure if this was another trick. The door did not open. Minutes passed, then hours. No guards rushed in. No weapons fired. No sedation gas filled the cell. For the first time in its life, nothing bad followed hope. When the door finally opened, the sound echoed like thunder. The dragon flinched hard, wings snapping tight. Fire sparked weakly between its teeth before dying out. Two figures stepped inside. One was Security Commander Vrax, stiff and furious. The other was Elias Ward. No armor, no weapon, just a simple jacket and tired eyes. "It's time," Elias said softly. The dragon did not move. Vrax scoffed. "It won't obey you now, human." This was a mistake. Elias ignored him. He stepped closer, too close for everyone's comfort. The dragon's heart hammered. It could feel the open space beyond the cell. Freedom had always meant pain before. Elias held out his hand. "You don't have to," he said, "but I'm not leaving without you." The chains released with a sharp click. The sound made every guard tense. The dragon felt the weight fall away from its limbs. Its legs trembled and used a holding its full strength without restraint. Slowly, very slowly, it shifted forward. One claw touched the floor outside the cell. Nothing exploded. No weapons fired. No pain came. The entire command feed went silent. The dragon took another step, then another. The most hated creature in the galaxy walked free for the first time. Alarms screamed across Star Shelter. Dock workers stopped mid-task. Traders froze. Children were pulled behind walls as security doors slammed shut. Camera feeds lit up with the same impossible image. A dragon walking beside a human. "This is madness," Vrax hissed. "One wrong move." "It won't," Elias replied. The dragon stayed close to him, not hiding, guarding. That alone terrified the station more than any roar. As they entered the transit lift, the dragon lowered its head, brushing against Elias's shoulder without meaning to. He stiffened but did not pull away. Vrax noticed. So did the galaxy. News networks intercepted the feed within minutes. Breaking. Human claims custody of galaxy's most hated dragon. Comments flooded in. Humans have lost their minds. That dragon will kill them all. End this before it's too late. The lift doors opened onto Elias's residential sector. Small, quiet, civilian. The dragon hesitated. This place smelled different. Food, warm air, life. Elias led it to his quarters. He deactivated the door locks. "No cages," he said. "No chains." The dragon lowered itself slowly, curling awkwardly in the open space. It did not sleep. It watched every corner, ready for betrayal. None came. Hours later, a sudden shockwave rocked the station. Emergency lights flared red. Unidentified vessel breach, pirate signature. Vrax cursed. Of all times, explosions echoed in the distance. Screams carried through the vents. The dragon felt it instantly. Threat. Its body reacted before its mind could. Muscles tensed. Fire built in its chest, stronger than before. Elias looked up sharply. Hey, it's okay. The dragon turned toward the sound of weapons fire. This time, the fear was not for itself. It was for the human. The door to the corridor burst open as fleeing civilians ran past. Security lines were breaking. Vrax's voice crackled over comms. We can't hold them. The dragon stood. Its wings spread, still damaged but wide enough to cast a shadow across the room. Elias stared, heart racing. You don't have to. The dragon stepped in front of him. Not attacking. Protecting. That image was captured by a single camera before the feed cut out. A dragon shielding a human with its body. Across the galaxy, billions would replay that moment. And for the first time, the question changed. Not why did a human adopt a dragon, but what did the galaxy do to make this dragon choose humanity? When the dragon chose to fight, Star Shelter was burning. Not from fire, but from panic. Pirate ships had cut through the outer defense ring like it was nothing. Explosions shook the station in deep, heavy waves. Emergency lights painted the halls red. Sirens screamed until they blended into one endless warning. Civilians ran. Guards fell back. Command lines broke. For the first time in decades, Star Shelter was losing. Inside the residential sector, Elias stood frozen as the dragon moved in front of him. Its wings were spread wide, blocking the doorway like a living shield. Heat rolled from its body, strong enough to bend the air. Elias's voice trembled. You'll get hurt. The dragon did not turn. It listened to the chaos beyond the walls. The sound of weapons. The fear in the air. These are sounds it knew well. War. Once it had been forced into it. Used like a tool. Blamed for every death. Never again. The door exploded inward. Metal screamed as pirate shock troops poured into the corridor. Their armor was black and sharp, weapons glowing with charged energy. They laughed when they saw Elias. Then they saw the dragon. The laughter died. By the stars, one pirate whispered. The dragon stepped forward. Not in rage. Not in madness. In control. A pirate raised his weapon. The dragon exhaled. Fire did not burst wildly. It flowed, hot, focused, precise. The blast melted weapons, scorched armor, and forced the pirates back without killing them. They screamed and retreated, terrified. The corridor fell silent, except for the crackle of cooling metal. Elias stared, breath shaking. You held back. The dragon lowered its head slightly. Yes. Alarms changed tone. Security feeds came back online. Commanders across the station froze as live footage returned. A dragon standing calm in a civilian hallway. Pirates fleeing. A human untouched behind it. Commander Vrax watched from the command deck, disbelief etched into his face. It didn't slaughter them, he whispered. It protected the human. More pirate units pushed deeper into the station. This time, the dragon moved first. It stepped into the corridor, placing itself between the pirates and the fleeing civilians. Its wings folded tight to avoid hitting anyone. Its tail curled carefully away from running children. It remembered something important. Elias was watching. Every move was measured. Every strike controlled. The dragon disabled weapons, blocked passages, and forced pirates back without destroying the station. Fires were avoided. Explosions were redirected. This was not a monster. This was a guardian. Across the galaxy, hacked pirate feeds and leaked security footage spread like wildfire. Dragon defends civilians. Human and dragon hold line together. Class Omega threat shows restraint. Comment sections exploded. That dragon should be killing them. Why is it protecting people? Since when do dragons care? In the command deck, Vrax made a decision that shocked everyone. All units, he ordered, voice steady. Follow the dragon's lead. Silence. Then confirmation pings rolled in. The station fought back, not with fear, but coordination. Pirates were trapped, surrounded, and forced to retreat. Their leader broadcast a final message before fleeing. That dragon is not broken, he snarled. It's worse. It's loyal. The pirate ships jumped to hyperspace. Star Shelter survived. Smoke drifted through damaged halls. Medics rushed to the injured. Fires were contained. And in the middle of it all, the dragon stood still, body shaking as the adrenaline faded. Old scars burned. Wings trembled. Elias approached slowly. "You did it," he said quietly. The dragon looked at him. This time, it did not look away. It lowered itself, exhausted but peaceful. Cameras caught the moment Elias sat beside it, resting his hand against its warm scales. No fear, no chains, no guards pulling him away. Just trust. Commander Vrax watched the feed in silence. "We were wrong," he said at last. Above the station, new messages flooded in from across the galaxy. Governments demanded answers. Old enemies grew uneasy because the galaxy had just learned something terrifying. Humans did not tame the dragon. They gave it a reason to choose. And once a dragon chooses, nothing in the stars stays the same. The truth the galaxy buried. Star Shelter was quiet again. Too quiet. The kind of silence that comes after something breaks forever. Repair drones moved like ghosts through burned corridors. Medics spoke in low voices. Screens replayed the same images on loop. A dragon standing between pirates and civilians. Wings spread, fire controlled, eyes calm. The galaxy could not stop watching. Inside Elias's quarters, the dragon rested on the floor, its massive body rising and falling with slow breaths. The fight had taken more from it than anyone realized. Old scars had reopened. Ancient pain had returned. Elias sat nearby, holding a medical scanner he barely understood. "You push yourself," he said softly. "You didn't have to." The dragon's eye opened halfway. It did not regret it. But memories were stirring now. Memories that had been buried under chains and fear. And far above them, those memories were becoming dangerous. On the command deck, Commander Vrax stood before a sealed archive terminal. The screen glowed red. Restricted history, dragon conflict era. He hesitated. Then he unlocked it. What he saw made his claws tremble. Fleet recordings, orders, battle logs, and one repeated command across dozens of systems. Deploy dragon as final weapon. Vrax's breath caught. The dragon had not led the attacks. It had been dropped into them, forced into war zones, controlled by signal beacons, shocked when it resisted, punished when it hesitated. Civilian deaths were blamed on it to hide command failures. Entire fleets destroyed because officers refused to retreat. And every time, the dragon was blamed. "They used it," Vrax whispered. "They broke it." The truth was worse than anyone imagined. Across the station, Elias felt the dragon tense. Its breathing quickened. Heat radiated from its scales. "Hey," he said quickly, standing. "What is it?" The dragon's memories surged. Fire, screaming ships, pain when it refused orders. It had tried to stop once. They punished it. The room temperature spiked. The walls creaked. Security alarms flickered, not from danger, but from emotional overload. Elias stepped closer without thinking. "It's over," he said firmly. "No one controls you now." The dragon looked at him. Fear flashed through its eye. Not fear of humans. Fear of becoming what the galaxy said it was. At that exact moment, the archive data leaked. Someone, no one knew who, released the files to the public network. The galaxy froze. Screens across planets, stations, and fleets filled with proof. The most hated dragon had been a prisoner long before it was a monster. Reactions exploded. "They lied to us. We blamed the wrong one. How many others were used like this?" Governments denied it. Admirals went silent. Old heroes resigned overnight. And in the middle of the storm, one truth stood taller than the rest. The dragon had every reason to hate the galaxy. But it didn't. In Elias's quarters, the dragon finally relaxed, its massive head lowering until it rested on the floor near him. The fire faded. The shaking stopped. Elias exhaled slowly, only now realizing how close everything had come to disaster. "You're not their weapon," he said. "You never were." The dragon closed its eye. Outside, protests began. Statues fell. Memorials were rewritten. The galaxy was forced to face what it had done, and that scared them more than any dragon ever could. Because now there was a question no one could avoid. If the dragon had been innocent all along, then what would it do next? And whose side would it choose? When the galaxy finally asked for forgiveness, the day the galaxy stood still, the galaxy did not apologize quietly. It never does. After the truth came out, systems burned, not with fire but with outrage. Governments argued. Admirals vanished. Courts filled with names that once commanded fleets. Every screen, every channel, every station asked the same question in 1,000 angry ways. What will the dragon do now? Because the galaxy knew one thing for certain. If it wanted revenge, no force could stop it. Star Shelter became the center of everything. Fleets gathered at a distance, not in attack formation, but in fear. Diplomatic vessels hovered like nervous birds, ready to flee at the first sign of flame. And in the middle of it all, in a quiet civilian sector, the dragon lay beside a human. Elias Ward stood at the observation window, looking out at the stars. He felt very small. "They're asking for you," he said quietly. "All of them." The dragon lifted its head. It remembered pain. Chains. Orders screamed through shock collars. The moment it learned that mercy was punished. It also remembered something else. A human sitting on a cold floor. A ration bar offered with shaking hands. A voice saying, "I'm not leaving." The station speakers crackled to life. "This is the Galactic Council." A voice echoed, heavy with tension. We request an audience with the dragon." Request, not command. That alone changed history. Elias swallowed. "You don't have to answer." The dragon rose to its full height. The station groaned softly under its weight. Its wings unfolded, scars visible, unhidden. It walked. Every camera followed as it moved through Star Shelter's main concourse. Crowds parted in terrified silence. No one screamed. No one ran. They watched. The dragon stepped onto the central platform, stars stretching endlessly behind it. Elias stood at its side, heart pounding. The council's holograms appeared, dozens of species, powerful and afraid. "We were wrong," one finally said. "We used you. We lied. We asked for forgiveness." The dragon studied them. Forgiveness was not simple. It could burn them all, in fleets, become a monster they feared. Instead, it spoke, not with words, with memory. It projected its past across the concourse. Chains, battles, screams, the moment it refused to kill and was punished for it. The galaxy watched its own crime replayed in silence. Then the dragon showed something else. Star Shelter. Civilians. A human standing in front of it without fear. The message was clear. "I will not be your weapon again." The council bowed. "What will you do?" they asked. The dragon looked at Elias, then at the stars. It chose a third path. "I will guard." Its presence seemed to say, not rule, not destroy. A new role was born that day. Not dragon overlord, not galactic terror, guardian of the outer systems. Star Shelter erupted in stunned silence, then slow applause. Humans started it. Others followed. Elias felt tears he didn't remember earning. Later, as fleets dispersed and the galaxy exhaled, Elias stood on a quiet platform with the dragon. "So," he said, forcing a small smile, "guess we shocked the galaxy." The dragon lowered its head until it touched his shoulder gently. Yes, humans were small. Humans were fragile. But humans did something no empire ever had. They chose compassion first. In that day, the galaxy learned the most dangerous truth of all. When humanity befriends a monster, it stops being a monster. It becomes family.